Tonight we're really having a conversation about the school system as a whole, really trying to solve some big problems. And we wanted to do it in a very bold and courageous way. So when you look at the school system's success over the last 5 years, we've been able to accomplish a great deal. We went from 38th in state rankings of 67 districts to 5 in state rankings. We went from also 38th in third grade student scoring at proficiency, once again to number 2 in the state. We have in middle school acceleration the second highest performance in the state, moving from 57. So just significant improvement over the last several years. We are the most improved school district in the state of Florida for the last 3 years running, and that's also something we're very, very, very proud of. So with all that success, you would wonder, why are we engaging in a conversation of consolidating and changing things around in such a drastic way? Because at the end of the day, we want to ensure that every single child has the opportunity to connect and engage in meaningful and relevant instruction here in our school district. We adamantly believe that the best place to educate a child in Indian River County is one of our public schools. We know that because for the last several years, we've been very intensely investing in our educators, making sure that our educators have the support, they have the guidance, they have high levels of support as it relates to student interactions and accountability, just an absolute investment in those who stand in front of our children each and every single day. But some of these problems that we're trying to solve, despite this success, come around how Florida is funding public education. So when you look at funding for public education, it has drastically changed in the last 3 years. The state of Florida provides scholarships for families. You can take the $9,600 that we receive for scholarships, and you can choose to homeschool. You can participate in a micro school. You can do you could use it as a money for a private school. In fact, there are 10 new private schools in our district over the last 10 years. Don't know much about those 10 private schools because the level of accountability regarding student performance in those schools doesn't exist. So are the teachers certified? Don't know. Are they teaching 2 or 3 grade levels in one classroom? Don't know. I want to assume goodwill, but as a taxpayer within this community, I want to make sure that public education dollars are investing in the future of this community. That's why public education exists, and it needs to be structured in a way that we have a level of accountability for the dollars that we provide to fund public education. Public education runs on the backs and the finances of the folks in this community, and we need to, through the school board, myself, be accountable for the outcome of the education of our children. So because of that shift in funding, the school system since 2019 was around just over 15,000 students. Now we sit around 13,500. So we've lost a significant number of students over the last 6 years. When you look at the increase in students participating in those opportunity scholarships, it has increased by over 2,500. Where are you at, Bruce? He's not here. Right around 2,500. There's actually more students today taking advantage of the scholarship than there are students in our charter schools. So significant variation and changes in that. So because that enrollment has shifted, the schools have experienced drastic shifts in enrollment. We have elementary schools that are at 280, 320, 340, and because we are a student-first district, meaning we're not going to punish students because they're going to a school that has so few students. But the fact of the reality is the number of students at that school do not fund the teachers at that school. So student first, as I said, reading, obviously reading, art, math, media specialists, PE. They have all of those specials, whether there's 600 kids in the school or the 240, 50 kids in the school. But we have to fund those teachers. So we have to figure out how we're going to do that. So how do we do that? We have to increase class size in other schools to offset the funds that are not being generated at that specific school. We have middle schools that currently sit today at 54% capacity. But we started K-8s, and they're just into the 6th grade this year. Next year, they'll add 7th. The following year, they'll add 8th. So what does that mean? That means that that 54% is going to be around 45% in the next 2 years as the K-8s add those grades if we choose to do nothing. So under-enrolled schools, both at the elementary level and secondary level, cause significant burden and stress on the district as a whole. For the last 5 years, we've been able to solve for that through efficiencies and reductions at the district office. So over the last 5 years, we've been able to cut $7.4 million as far away from kids as possible at the district office. That helped balance the books. We've been able to monitor and reduce discretionary spending, making sure that every dollar in this district is aligned to our district's strategic plan and that there is absolutely no wasteful spending, and we're pulling back dollars in order to ensure that we can balance the budget. We have created and refined a school allocation model, which is reviewed each and every single year. It allows us to allocate instructional staff and support staff based on the number of students at a particular school. And those strategies have allowed us, or allowed me, to present to our school board, here is a balanced budget that you can approve and have every level of confidence that these numbers on paper, which equals our budget, will allow us to operate the school district with the funds that were being provided this particular year. This year, as we went through that exercise, we had to take an extra cut. We generate assistant principals on that school allocation model that I was referring to at 1 to 600. Even though we only lost around 300 or projected to lose around 340 students, we still cut 5 assistant principals. 5 assistant principals, not because the formula said that we had to, but because we had to present a balanced budget. And as we went through the reductions, we're now forced to be pulling ourselves into the school too close to kids for my comfort. So those are some of the problems we're trying to solve. Under-enrolled elementary schools, under-enrolled middle schools. As we began to solve the problem, we identified a third problem. We have a high demand program that we began last school year. Those are our K-8 models. 2 specifically, Osceola as well as Rosewood have always been high demand magnet programs. Matter of fact, we turn away about 100 families just between those 2 schools each and every single year. And about 30 of those families who are turned away don't have the opportunity or they choose not to enroll with us. So there's a clear data that says there's an opportunity to increase enrollment by expanding offering. In other words, listening to what parents want and figuring out a way to provide or maximize that opportunity because there's clear demand. That's how they want to educate their children. So we wanted to solve for that problem as well. We looked at all of our facilities. We looked at the instructional programming. We looked at the staff that we had available to us, and we really came to the conclusion that we want to make this problem our friend. And we want to use it as a true opportunity to engage with our community, engage with our staff to reinvent the school district of Indian River County. Go through an innovation exercise. And this innovation exercise will reduce the number of schools, but increase the resources that we have available to us to compensate our staff, increase the opportunity to provide more support services for our students or resources for our students as we shift and go through this process. So we lead the conversation through innovation. The first innovation that we began to speak about was right here at this campus that we're at today, which is the Freshman Learning Center in Vero Beach Senior High School. We operate the Freshman Learning Center, a long-standing tradition in the community, but when you look at the operating cost, $1.2 million on an annual basis to operate. Yet the students in the Freshman Learning Center would fit in this building right now today. But we're running a $1.2 million annual cost to do this. A third of the students that are in the Freshman Learning Center have to get on a bus and come over here to the main campus and take a course. It takes more than 4 minutes to get on a bus from the Freshman Learning Center to come over here and participate in your class and then turn around and then go back. You're missing seat time on each side of that bus ride. We're required to meet seat time, and when a student is sitting on a bus, we're not meeting seat time. We also have students who come into high school, and transitioning to high school is a very, very hard time. And some of the things that make them successful is finding that new vocational course, that passion that they're going to follow for the rest of their lives. Culinary arts, since we're in the cafeteria, why not talk about that? Is a great program that we have here, but you don't get access to that program until you're in 10th grade. What if that student, we missed the opportunity to connect that student to that programming because he had to wait one additional year? So for those reasons, we want to take the Freshman Learning Center and put it into the main campus, make sure kids get to class on time, make sure we meet the minutes, make sure we save $1.2 million, and provide or maximize opportunity for students to take part in the vocational programmings that are only offered here on the main campus. Now, the next move would be to address Oslo Middle School. I spent a lot of time at Oslo Middle School. I see great things happening at Oslo Middle School. I see the quality of instruction at a great level. I see educators who are passionate, who are truly investing in their children. The school missed an A by 3 points. It will recoup those 3 points this year and exceed the points needed to be an A. Very, very comfortable with that. But when I'm out in the community, the perception about the things I hear about Oslo Middle School is significantly different than the reality of when I'm walking in the schools. When we begin to explore the data as it relates to that, there's about 24% of the students who are zoned for that particular school who choose not to go there. So what we want to do is rebrand the school and enhance the programming at the school. When I say enhance the programming, build upon some of the great things that are already happening in that particular school. Build upon it by moving it to the Freshman Learning Center and expand the access to some of the great programs that are in this school. Orchestra. Students can't wait to be part of the orchestra at Vero Beach Senior High School. The band, the theater program, the athletic program, the entrepreneurial programs. They run a restaurant at this school, and it makes just as much money as the cafeteria probably. It is absolutely outstanding, some of the programming that takes place here. But why do you have to wait to 9th grade to get into some of these programs? So whether it's athletics or the arts, as I was talking about, strengthening the connection to this brand, Vero Beach Senior High School, and making sure our students have every opportunity to improve that access. So if you have the skills to be on the sports team, as we grow this out in 8th grade, why not? If you want to march in the band, why not? Those are some of the things that we want to do to continue to build the strong academic program by providing connectivity to one of our best brands and products in this county, which is Vero Beach Senior High School. So now, if you're keeping record, Osceola would then move into the Oslo Center. Why would Osceola move? Because if you recall at the beginning of this presentation, it is a program that is turning away parents. So if we're going to do anything right, we're going to listen. We're going to use a really cold strategy called listening. Parents want this programming, so we'll be able to retrofit the middle school campus into an elementary space, offer a K-8 programming. So about 2/3 of our 5th graders at Osceola last year chose to remain as 6th graders on the elementary campus. The third that left said, I want the orchestra, I want the band, I want to be on the sports team after school. It was pretty consistent. That was the rationale for not selecting to stay in the K-8 model. So now we're able to provide the best of both worlds. The smaller K-8 environment, yes, it would get a little bit larger, but in terms of the size of schools, it would be around 900 to 1,000 on a campus that holds around 1,300 to 1,400, so it's going to feel very, very small. Designed in pods, so students can be separated based on the appropriate age, with having access to the gymatorium, I don't know what you call it, gymatorium, the visual performing arts. So it is absolutely a win-win. Our next innovation looks at Storm Grove Middle School. This goes back to the problem around the soon-to-be 45% enrollment in our middle schools and our ability not to be able to provide programming based on the small numbers of students in that middle school space. So what we would do is take the Storm Grove attendance zone, and I'll show it to you in a little bit as to what this shift would look like, and then divide it between the 3 remaining middle schools. Sebastian River Middle School, Vero Beach Middle School, which would be the proposed name for Oslo Middle School as it came into the FLIC, and then Gifford Middle School. And then we would divide those students. The biggest impact would be moving the current 6th and 7th graders as they transition to the next grade level. We're not going to displace those students. So they'll have the opportunity to transition to the next grade level. Even though the attendance zones may change, we will continue to pick them up and provide transportation. Literally nothing is going to change for them, other than there'll be some elementary kids from Rosewood on the campus. They'll be continued to finish that programming that they started at the same campus. And then at Storm Grove, the same theory of action, retrofitting with the playgrounds, the classrooms, with the furniture that would be needed. Once again, it has 3 very distinct buildings, as well as all of the visual and performing arts. So new programming and using and maximizing that space. I want to talk about some of the middle school programming as well. So I spoke about Oslo and enhancing the programming there. Gifford is our one middle school in our community that's actually growing in enrollment. It's growing in enrollment, a lot of strategy around its advanced academic programming, a number of courses that middle school students are being able to take, actual high school courses in middle school. We want to build out some of the gifted programming that we do so well in the K-5 space and allow those students really to come into a program and build upon the gifted programming in a way they demonstrate mastery, problem solving. Absolutely will enhance and continue to grow that specific program. On the north side of town, we have an IB program at Sebastian River Middle School that feeds into Sebastian River High School, and Liberty feeds Sebastian Middle School. We want to create strong feeder patterns or a pipeline at every school in the district. Running a school that has an aerospace program in elementary school but has nowhere to go in middle school really is a disservice to a child. I may participate in this aerospace program. I fall in love with aerospace. It's really something I want to learn more about, but I've got no place to go in 6th grade. So we will make sure across the system that we align programming. And as we're doing this innovative programming, there's always a place for you to go from elementary school to middle school to high school. So we will build out and continue to grow the programming in each of the 3 remaining middle schools in our community. Innovation 6 is Glendale Elementary School and Citrus Elementary School. And when you look at the programming or the enrollment, Glendale is right down the street, currently holds 54% capacity. It was one of those schools I was referencing in being under-enrolled. And then Citrus Elementary sits around 62%. Over the last 3 years has lost a significant number of students, not because of performance, just because of the neighborhood that it serves. So we will take these 2 zones, combine them, and move the programming from Glendale into Citrus. Glendale has a very strong ag program. They use a middle school curriculum because an elementary school curriculum doesn't exist, and they've pushed it into the K-5 space. They have pigs, they have chickens, and the students are running that farm, for a lack of a better way of saying it, as they learn about how to care for the animals and treat the animals. We'll be able to build a better facility for them to run that program at Citrus, while at the same time continuing to grow Citrus's program and give more choice to those students at that particular school. We would then use the Glendale campus to increase our ability to meet the needs of our district's most fragile students. We have a program, the name of the school is Wabasso. It's for our district's most fragile students. These are the students who have severe mental disabilities or really health conditions that allow them where they need additional support. That building only has 10 campuses. We need to do better for those children and expand the programming at that particular school. But we have to do it right, so we'll spend next school year retrofitting the building, making sure the appropriate facility and resources are available to those very special need children, and then we'll pull those students into a campus that is appropriate for them and provides them with the space that they need to meet their needs. That would be in the upcoming school year. IR Prep is a school that services our students who have continuous disruptive behaviors, have trouble following the code of conduct. It's a very specific school. You have to be assigned there based on your behavior. Right now, it's on the Freshman Learning Center in the back, what we call the 800 building or wing. We will move it back into the technical college. There's available space to make this happen, and then provide them access to the great vocational programming that's at that school. And that goes back to providing an opportunity to students to connect to a program that gets them ultimately reconnected to the educational process. And we think that's just the best thing to do for those particular students. Going back to the zones, if you look right now, this is the map of the 4 zones. You can see the specific areas in which your house may be. It's important to keep in mind when you see 95 up there. On the east side of 95, we probably have a handful of students, maybe 6 or 7. So although it looks like a great deal of space, it's only about 50% occupied across our county. Now, these are the 4, and this is what it would look like when I go to the next slide. I'm going to set it up for you. You'll see VLE. Half the students in VLE go to one elementary school, middle school, and on the other half of that community, you go to another school. That's going to pull in, and then the yellow, Sebastian River, will head all the way over to the coastline, and you'll see some shifts in Gifford Middle School or Oslo Middle School pulling up into a location right around here. So that's what this looks like. So you can see this section, this doesn't have one of those little beams, but the top section where Vero Beach South is being added into Vero Beach Middle School and Vero Lake Estates. It looks like a very, very small move, but it's a very populated area. So we're picking up kids to go to Sebastian River Middle School and expand it out to the coastline. When you look at the enrollment for next school year, Sebastian River Middle School specifically is able to maintain the exact same enrollment next school year. But keep in mind, a good percent of their kids next year will still have the opportunity to stay at Storm Grove because we're not going to displace them. So a number of their future 7th and 8th graders will still be phasing out of Storm Grove. So their enrollment will continue to grow. It's also important to keep in mind when you look at these projected numbers, about 30% of the students in our county are in fact choice students. So you're going to see a great deal of fluctuation as we build out some of these programs. I may want to enroll my son at Vero Beach Middle School based on that programming. And this is the zone that I was referring to, looking at Glendale Elementary School and Citrus. You can see Glendale has a very tight zone. And once again, when you get past 95, there's not much in terms of student housing out there. And Citrus. So this is very simple. We move that zone right into one complete zone for Citrus Elementary School. And that allows us to get closer to capacity at that particular school. This is the current zone for Dodgertown. One slight change, which is very, very hard to understand. If you looked at these yellow arrows, you see there's 2 very specific sections in Gifford in which students are being transported all the way through another school zone or 2 school zones. We're going to give those families the opportunity to attend the school that's closest to their house because that's a choice that they have. And the reality of busing students all the way across town is probably not in the best interest of a particular family, because if I'm a single parent or 2 working parents, it might be easier for me to engage with the school if I am 20 miles or 20 minutes closer to that particular school. So we will simply afford those students the opportunity to attend the school literally right down the street from their house versus sitting on a bus for 20, 25 minutes. We're also speaking through and getting feedback on start times. Start times has been a big conversation across the state of Florida for the last several years. We're looking at modifications to our start time and asking you all to provide us feedback. So right now the high school start time is 7:05. and we're suggesting a 15-minute pushback to 7:20. 15 minutes doesn't seem like a lot, but in speaking to the secondary or high school administrators, secondary students, secondary staff, pushing it back 15 minutes saves them 15 minutes in the morning, but also isn't allowing them to leave so late where the students can't do their after-school job or do the after-school clubs and activities. So in listening to those folks, this is an initial starting point in terms of pushing back the start time from 7:05 to 7:20. Having students out at a bus stop at 6:20, 6 a.m. in the morning when it's pitch black outside is something we need to hold ourselves accountable and just do better. Middle schools in K-8, so we have a 50-minute window in between the high school and the K-8 and middle school start time. That 50-minute window, as you recall, I was speaking about the bus times here between on the way home, Freshman Learning Center, and then the Flick, and then vice versa. We're saving that time as well. So the middle school start time is 8:10. Right now, the middle school start time is 8 o'clock. So we're condensing the middle school start time, or pushing it back by 10 minutes, starting at 8:10. The big change there is the current K-8s will move to that middle school start time. The main reason we're suggesting that is simply because of the child's opportunity to do the after-school programming with the other middle schools, whether it be sports or other activities, competitions. We want to align those particular times. And then we're pushing back the elementary start time by only 5 minutes. And the biggest concern that we had is making sure we can get the kids in class on time. So we've been able to, because of the removal of the double stops here at the main campus on the Flick, push the start time back 15 minutes, the release time back 15 minutes in the high school space, but only pushing the elementary start time and release time 5 minutes back. So we're very, very proud of that. Right now, to this point, the feedback has been very, very positive. But we're continuing to seek feedback on that to make sure we learn as much as possible as it relates to release times or start times before we make any final recommendations. So that is my presentation. If you are watching online or by video, you're going to have the opportunity to hit the link that's going to be provided to you to ask any questions, and someone from my staff or myself will reach out and engage in a dialogue for you to make sure you have those responses. Thank you.